you. Thank you, everybody. Everybody, please have a seat. Let me first of all just say thank you to some people who are doing outstanding work, beginning with somebody who I think is one of the best governors we've got in this country and just a great guy. Give it up for Ted Strickland, your governor. We got an outstanding young mayor, Mayor Jay Williams. The mayor of Girard, Jim Melfi, is here as well. Secretary of State Jennifer Brunner. And three terrific members of Congress, Tim Ryan, Charlie Wilson, John Bucheri. Give them all a big round of applause. It is good to be back in Ohio. And it is good to be back in Mahoning Valley. I appreciate the chance to tour this unbelievable facility. But, you know, sometimes when you're president, you get kind of jaded. You know, you've seen a lot of stuff. You go through these factories. This one, when you walk through, is just unbelievable. It's like off of a movie set. And so it was exciting to see, but what was especially exciting was to see all the people who are working here and to see the work that you're doing here. You know, so I saw the 85-ton electric arc furnace. I didn't see any evidence, but I know that you're building Iron Man suits somewhere in here. I appreciate the time that I've had to spend with all of you, partly because it's just nice to get out of Washington. You know, Washington's a wonderful place, beautiful, nice monuments. I have this nice home office, live right above the store so I don't have a commute. But sometimes in Washington, everybody's spending all their time arguing about politics and you lose track of the folks who sent you there in the first place. And so it's important for me to meet you directly and hear your concerns and your hopes and your dreams. And I've been trying to make a habit out of doing this. About once a week I try to take a trip like this just to talk to folks who are working in various parts of our economy and to find out what's going on in communities. And obviously the issue that's front and center on everybody's minds is the state of our economy. You know, in the 2 years I was running for president, I wasn't any stranger to this state. These guys know I came here an awful lot. And I saw firsthand what years of failed policies had done to working families, and I saw how hard these guys were working to put Ohio back to work. And the Mahoning Valley is a place that doesn't need an economist to tell you when a recession begins or when a recession ends, because plenty of folks here have known their own private recessions for 10, 20, 30 years. Now, they may not have seen one like the one we just had, with an unemployment rate here that's at 14% and families having a tougher time than they'd ever imagined. And a lot of people, let's just be blunt, aren't always real impressed when a governor or a president comes swooping in and talking about the economy. Because the only headline they want to see is the headline that says you're hired. But I do want to talk about a piece of encouraging news for a change. Something concrete, not just a lot of talk. Because for a lot of the last 2 years, you didn't always get a lot of good news. A year ago, we took significant action to jumpstart economic growth and job creation. That action included making investments in sectors with the greatest potential for private sector job growth, areas like clean energy and infrastructure. And one of those investments is going towards revitalizing the site right next door, preparing it for new construction and building a rail spur that connects to the Norfolk Southern line that runs through town. So as a result of this investment, V&M Star's parent company decided to invest $650 million of its own money, to build a new 1 million square foot mill right here in Youngstown, the largest industrial plant built in the valley since GM built its plant over in Lordstown in the 1960s. Think about that. Biggest investment since the 1960s, 50 years. So right here in the heart of the old steel corridor, where some never thought we'd see an investment like this again, they're placing a bet on American manufacturing and on this community. And that bet's going to pay off for 400 construction jobs once they break ground this summer, 350 new manufacturing jobs once the mill comes online, which doubles the current workforce. And as everybody here knows, every time a new factory or plant opens or expands in America, it doesn't just employ the people who are working at the plant. Everybody here suddenly, they've got a little more money to go buy lunch somewhere or buy a computer for the kids or do something else. And so it becomes an economic lifeline for the whole community, capable of supporting hundreds, even thousands of jobs indirectly. And so that's a success story that all of you are a part of. Now, I don't want to suggest that this one plant and the jobs that it'll create are going to make the difference for the entire community. It took us decades to get to where we are. It's going to take some time to get to the point where we need to be. But just think about where we were a year ago. Our economy was collapsing. Our businesses were losing 750,000 jobs every month. Economists across the spectrum were warning very seriously of the possibility of another Great Depression. And all of this was on top of one of the toughest decades for America's middle class that we've ever seen. So that was the situation just a year ago. Everybody's got kind of a selective memory here. But nobody was sure whether the economy was going to hold up. So we had to make a choice. We could sit back, do nothing, make a bunch of excuses, play politics, and watch America's decline, or we could stand up and fight for our future. And I ran for president in Youngstown because I believe that we're at a defining moment in our history. And if we're going to keep the American dream alive, not just for us, but for the next generation, then we couldn't just sit back and put off solving these big problems. We had to tackle them head on. Job one was rescuing our economy, and that required some steps that were frankly unpopular. Steps like stabilizing a financial system that was on the brink of collapse and intervening in an auto industry that was on the brink of extinction. I knew those steps would be unpopular. Even in Ohio, even in Michigan, even in auto-making states, if you polled, people say, don't do anything about the auto companies. And I knew, politics being what it is, that some people would try to score political points off our decisions. But I think it's fair to say, any fair-minded person would say, that if we hadn't acted, more people in the Valley, more people in Ohio, more people across America would be out of work today. And I can just give you a very concrete example. The GM plant over in Lordstown would not be there because GM would have liquidated. Instead, GM's paying back its debts, turned a profit for the first time in 3 years, and a third shift is about to come back to work in Lordstown, putting that plant at maximum capacity. Right next door. And by the way, it was in part because of the decisions that these three guys made in Congress. That's not easy. They've been knocked around. They got lumps all over the backs of their heads. Some on top. But it was the right thing to do. Today, my administration is announcing a landmark agreement to help dozens of communities like Youngstown revitalize and redevelop old shuttered GM facilities, preparing them for new industries and new jobs and new opportunity. These steps were the right thing to do. And it was the right thing to do to give tax relief to small businesses and working families right in the middle of this enormous recession. 4.5 million working families in Ohio alone got tax breaks. Most of you guys didn't know it, didn't notice it in your paycheck. We didn't go around advertising it. But each paycheck was a little bit bigger because of the steps that we took, and that meant that you could recirculate that money into the economy and keep demand up, which helped avert a depression. That was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do to give loans to small businesses to keep their doors open. More than 2,400